Emily Saunders and Chloe Miller were inseparable best friends, sharing every secret, every laugh, and every TikTok video. But one night, a stunt meant to make them go viral turned deadly, leaving a small town in shock and the internet asking, how far would someone go for fame? Emily Saunders had always been drawn to the spotlight, even in ways that seemed small at first. In high school, she would plan elaborate pranks on her friends, meticulously editing videos on her phone and posting them online, always hoping for likes and shares. Chloe Miller, her best friend since childhood, was her constant partner in crime. Chloe had a quieter personality, cautious in nature, but she shared Emily's love for creating content and had been filming and performing in her friend's videos for years. Their friendship was strong because they balanced each other. Emily pushed the boundaries, and Chloe helped keep things grounded. But Emily's ambitions were growing faster than her sense of caution. By the time they reached their late teens, Emily's obsession with social media had become intense. TikTok was no longer just a platform for fun. It was a measure of worth, a place where every view and like felt like validation. She studied viral trends endlessly, analyzing what made some videos explode while others went unnoticed. She experimented with humor, stunts, and pranks, but none of it seemed extreme enough to capture the attention she craved. The need for a breakthrough became almost a compulsion, an obsession that consumed her thoughts and plans. One evening, Emily called Chloe over to her house. She had an idea that she insisted would change everything for them. She wanted to create a prank so shocking, so suspenseful, that it would guarantee millions of views overnight. Emily had been researching dangerous stunts, watching viral videos where creators feigned accidents, staged kidnappings, and other extreme scenarios to captivate audiences. She convinced herself this was just another stunt, just another performance for the camera. She presented it to Chloe as harmless fun, emphasizing the careful planning and all the safety measures she claimed to have thought through. Chloe hesitated at first, uneasy about the risks, but Emily's enthusiasm and insistence were infectious. She promised they would laugh about it later, framing the idea as a shared adventure that only the two of them could pull off. They spent hours planning. Every angle was considered, every shot rehearsed. Emily set up multiple cameras to capture reactions from different perspectives, determined to make the video look professional and thrilling. She picked a location inside her house that seemed safe enough at first glance, but it required Chloe to perform a stunt that involved climbing and balancing on furniture in ways that could easily go wrong. Despite the potential hazards, Chloe trusted Emily. Their friendship had always involved pushing boundaries together, and Chloe believed Emily would not intentionally put her in danger. As the night fell and the cameras began rolling, the excitement was palpable. Emily's mind was racing with visions of instant fame, while Chloe focused on following the plan as safely as she could. The thrill of what they were about to do overshadowed any lingering doubts. Each movement was calculated, each gesture designed to create suspense for the camera. They laughed nervously, adrenaline mixing with excitement, unaware of how thin the line between daring prank and disaster had become. In that moment, neither of them could imagine how drastically that night would change their lives forever, how a single misstep would unravel everything they thought they could control. The night of filming started with a sense of exhilaration, the kind that only comes when two friends feel unstoppable. Emily was directing with precision, moving cameras to catch the best angles, reminding Chloe of each step she needed to take. Chloe's hands trembled slightly as she climbed onto the furniture, trying to steady herself, but Emily's excitement was contagious. They joked about how unbelievable the video would look online, how many views it would get, how fast it could make them famous. In the back of her mind, Chloe felt a flicker of worrying, but she pushed it aside, trusting Emily's careful instructions. The first few shots went perfectly. The cameras captured every detail, every gasp, every nervous laugh. Emily reviewed the footage in real time, urging Chloe to exaggerate her expressions for dramatic effect. The adrenaline was intense, and the friends were swept up in the thrill. Then came the moment of the stunt that would change everything. Chloe was supposed to climb a chair and reach for a rope that hung from a ceiling fixture, a step meant to look like a struggle on camera. Emily insisted it was safe, that she had tested everything, but the rope swung slightly as Chloe grabbed it, creating instability she hadn't anticipated. As Chloe tried to regain balance, her foot slipped. For a heartbeat, it seemed like she might catch herself, but the momentum was too much. She fell awkwardly, hitting the edge of the staircase railing. Pain shot through her body immediately, and she let out a cry that cut through the excitement of the filming. Emily froze for a moment, stunned by the suddenness of it. Panic surged through her as she realized the severity of Chloe's injuries. The adrenaline that had been thrilling only seconds ago transformed into fear. She rushed to her friend, trying to help, but the panic made her clumsy. Her attempts to stabilize Chloe unintentionally worsened the situation. Time slowed as the reality sank in. Chloe was badly hurt, unable to move, her breathing uneven. Emily's mind raced, torn between calling for help and thinking about the cameras still rolling. In a terrifying moment of irrational thinking, she paused, framing the scene with the cameras as though the video itself could somehow shield her from what was happening. Neighbors began to notice the commotion, and the sound of sirens in the distance grew closer. Emily's fear shifted into a desperate attempt to make the incident appear less catastrophic than it was. She adjusted the setup, moved objects, and tried to stage Chloe's position as though it had been a minor accident. When emergency responders arrived, they found a chaotic scene. Chloe was in critical condition, and paramedics acted quickly to stabilize her and rush her to the hospital. Emily followed, her mind a whirlwind of excuses and half-truths she planned to tell. She rehearsed what she would say to the authorities, convinced that framing the event as a simple mishap could protect her. But deep down, a gnawing sense of dread began to take hold. The kind that only comes when someone realizes they are facing consequences far larger than they ever imagined. The excitement of going viral had vanished, replaced by an overwhelming weight of fear, guilt, and uncertainty about the future. The investigation began almost immediately after Chloe was rushed to the hospital. Her condition was critical, and the medical team worked tirelessly. But the authorities needed answers. Police arrived at Emily's house to examine the scene. They found the cameras still recording, angles meticulously positioned, and a chaos that seemed staged rather than accidental. Officers began asking questions, and Emily offered her account. It had been a harmless stunt, a prank gone wrong. At first, her story sounded plausible, but investigators were trained to notice details that didn't add up. Detectives started piecing together a timeline using footage from neighbors' security cameras and Emily's own phone. They noticed gaps in her account, moments where her explanation of the sequence of events did not match the evidence. The rope she claimed was secure showed signs of having been tied in a way that could easily fail, and the furniture Chloe had climbed bore marks that indicated she had slipped earlier than Emily admitted. The inconsistencies alarmed investigators, who began to suspect that Emily's version of events might not fully reflect reality. Experts were called in to analyze the footage Emily had filmed herself. They examined angles, camera placements, and edits, looking for signs that the video had been manipulated or staged. Small but significant details emerged. Certain shots had been restarted, as though Emily was trying to capture the perfect moment for the audience, even during dangerous parts of the stunt. Forensic specialists noted that some injuries Chloe suffered were inconsistent with a simple fall, raising questions about whether the risk had been understood or controlled. Cell phone data also revealed that Emily had been browsing extreme stunts online for days before the incident. She had watched videos where creators feigned accidents, and she had taken notes on how to make scenes look dramatic. The authorities began to see a pattern. Emily's desire to go viral may have clouded her judgment to the point where she underestimated real danger. Every new piece of evidence suggested a growing obsession with social media attention, and the line between an innocent prank and recklessness was becoming increasingly blurred. Interviews with friends and family added further context. People described Emily as talented, charismatic, and ambitious, but increasingly fixated on her online presence. They spoke about how she constantly planned content, rehearsed stunts, and seemed willing to take risks others would avoid. Chloe's family described her as trusting and loyal, someone who would follow Emily's lead even into situations that seemed risky. The contrast between the two friends highlighted the tragic combination of ambition and misplaced trust that had led to the disaster. As the investigation deepened, authorities realized that this was not just a tragic accident. The evidence suggested a reckless pursuit of fame, a willingness to prioritize views and likes over safety. Emily's intentions, whether fully understood or not, had set a chain of events in motion that ended in Chloe's death. By the time the detectives prepared to confront her with the mounting evidence, they knew they were dealing with a situation far more complicated than a simple prank gone wrong, and that Emily's choices would be scrutinized under a harsh spotlight that social media had helped create. Emily was brought into the interrogation room hours after the initial investigation had begun. The sterile walls and harsh overhead lighting made the small space feel suffocating. She sat quietly at the table, her hands folded, trying to maintain an air of calm, but every movement betrayed her tension. Detectives observed her closely, noting how often she shifted in her seat, tapped her fingers on the table, and avoided direct eye contact. They knew that beneath the composed exterior, fear and anxiety were simmering. As the questioning began, officers started by reviewing the timeline of events, pointing out discrepancies in Emily's story. At first, she answered carefully, attempting to sound consistent, but small inconsistencies emerged. She repeated phrases she had rehearsed, but her voice occasionally wavered. Detectives noticed subtle contradictions. She claimed the stunt had been safe, yet the footage showed her setting up dangerous positions, and her descriptions of Chloe's movements did not match the camera angles. Each new question chipped away at the narrative she had tried to maintain, revealing cracks in the carefully constructed story she had prepared. The investigators then shifted focus to Emily's social media activity. They presented screenshots of searches for extreme stunts and prior videos she had uploaded that flirted with dangerous behavior. They asked her to explain why she had watched tutorials on potentially lethal pranks days before the incident. Emily hesitated, her answers fragmented, revealing her fixation on creating viral content. Detectives began to piece together a picture of a young woman so consumed by the desire for online fame that she had neglected to recognize the real-life consequences of her actions. Every attempt to justify her behavior only strengthened the officers' suspicions that the risk had been intentional, or at least recklessly ignored. Evidence from the scene was also scrutinized. Investigators questioned Emily about the multiple cameras, the staged angles, and the way objects had been moved after the accident. They highlighted how certain shots had been restarted, suggesting a focus on capturing dramatic moments rather than ensuring Chloe's safety. Emily's explanations wavered between panic and justification, and the officers began to suspect that her instinct was not to protect her friend, but to protect the story she wanted to tell online. The realization was chilling. What had been presented as a prank had elements of planning and premeditation that went far beyond a simple mistake. Throughout the interrogation, detectives pressed on with a mix of patience and precision, watching Emily's reactions carefully. They noticed micro-expressions, quick flashes of guilt, anxiety, and even fleeting satisfaction when she spoke about how the video might have gone viral under different circumstances. Each reaction was analyzed, weighed against the physical evidence and digital footprint. As hours passed, Emily's confidence began to crumble. The web of lies she had spun was unraveling, revealing a young woman trapped between her ambition and the reality of a life-altering tragedy. By the end of the session, it was clear that Emily's pursuit of fame had left an indelible mark, one that no amount of explanation or editing could erase. News of the incident spread quickly, both locally and online. What had started as a story about a tragic accident became a viral sensation in its own right. Social media was flooded with speculation, opinions, and outrage. Clips from Emily's videos, alongside snippets of the aftermath, circulated widely, sparking debates about responsibility, recklessness, and the lengths people would go for internet fame. People across the country questioned how a harmless prank could turn into a deadly event, and many condemned Emily for prioritizing views over her friend's safety. Authorities continued to build their case, carefully documenting every piece of evidence. The footage from multiple cameras, Emily's social media searches, and witness statements all painted a picture of premeditated risk-taking. Prosecutors argued that while Emily may not have intended to kill her friend, her actions were reckless and directly led to Chloe's death. The case highlighted a troubling phenomenon in the digital age. The pursuit of online attention can overshadow common sense, pushing individuals to take extreme risks without fully understanding the consequences. Emily's family and friends were drawn into the public spotlight as well. Interviews revealed the stark contrast between her ambitions and Chloe's trusting nature. Friends described Emily as talented and creative, but increasingly obsessed with social media recognition. Chloe's family spoke of her loyalty and sense of humor, emphasizing how she had always been cautious but willing to follow Emily's lead. The tragedy became a lens through which the public examined the pressures and dangers of youth culture online, showing how quickly peer influence and the desire for fame could escalate into disaster. Court proceedings eventually began, and Emily faced charges of involuntary manslaughter and reckless endangerment. The trial drew widespread attention, with media outlets dissecting every detail of the events leading up to Chloe's death. Experts testified about the dangers of extreme stunts, the psychology of online attention-seeking, and how Emily's planning and filming indicated a disregard for real-world safety. The case forced viewers to confront uncomfortable questions about accountability, the ethics of content creation, and the consequences of allowing social media to dictate behavior. In the aftermath, the town struggled to reconcile the tragedy. Schools held discussions about online safety, parents warned children about the hidden risks behind viral trends, and local authorities launched campaigns to educate teenagers about the dangers of risky stunts. The story of Emily and Chloe served as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the pursuit of fleeting fame could come at a devastating cost. Even as the trial concluded, the memory of that night lingered, a haunting example of how ambition, trust, and poor judgment can intersect in ways no one anticipates. The video that Emily had dreamed would bring her attention and recognition became instead a permanent record of a life lost and a community forever changed. The case sparked a broader conversation about the influence of social media and the need for accountability. It reminded people that behind every viral video are real lives and real consequences. Emily's story, once one of friendship and shared dreams, became a tragic lesson about the dangers of obsession, the fragility of trust, and the high price of chasing online fame without regard for reality. The name Chloe Miller remained a symbol of innocence lost, and the events of that night became a somber warning that the pursuit of digital stardom can sometimes be deadly.